This is The Current Buzz, a podcast powered by Oklahoma Electric Cooperative and OEC Fiber,
dedicated to teaching you what makes us different.
Welcome to another episode of The Current Buzz. We are elated today to have one of our more tenured OEC Electric and Fiber employees with us. Marty Hayes, who's our VP of Operations, is celebrating. Are you in your 38th year?
Yes.
So he started in 1985. Just out of curiosity, I was looking up what were some of the price differences in 1985. And a gallon of gas cost $1.12. So that's actually more than I would have thought. They're now saying it's $3.03. That the most popular thing to buy at the time was a Rubik's Cube. That was a very popular stocking stuffer. And that overall, in the 80s, we just started coming out of, in Oklahoma, kind of the oil bust. So, Marty, what we would love to hear is just how do things look different? So give us first kind of a history on when you started it at OEC, what your position was then, and then your evolution into where you are now.
Okay, so of course started actually July 16th, 1985. Started on right-of-way. Worked in the right-of-way department, which now vegetation management, for a couple years before moving to maintenance as a helper on the maintenance truck. Was on, become a lineman, worked on maintenance, became a journeyman lineman. Had a little stint where they moved in and we had our own transformer shop, recloser shop at the time. Was asked to go in and manage it for a few years, and did that for a little while, and ended up back out in the field as a lineman after that, and got my own district. So had a district out east of Noble, Lexington area for 8 or 10 years. Got the opportunity to move into management as the underground coordinator. Gosh, probably now 12, 14 years ago, I guess. After that,
time flies when you're having fun.
It does. Moved to manager of the maintenance department, overseeing our 2-man maintenance crews and working with that team, and then was fortunate enough to end up with the VP of operations in, I think, since 2017. So been a while.
So you hit on a couple things. So right-of-way, of course, which is now vegetation management, that's making sure that no shrubbery or trees come in contact with the lines that presents a big hazard. And as we're coming off right now a snowstorm, got some ice in a few areas. That's a huge deal, because what that means is we're able to not lose power, right? That's why we take that vegetation management so seriously. But I want to kind of hone in on your time as a district lineman. So you said 8 to 10 years in Noble and Lexington. Walk us through kind of like a day. Like how many hours are you working? What kind of stuff are you doing day in and day out?
So, gosh, from when I was out, our overtime has obviously come down as our system has improved. As a district lineman, I always thought that was my favorite day job. And I've enjoyed all of my jobs here, but the interaction you have with the membership and stuff, I really, really enjoyed the day portion of that. And not that I didn't enjoy the night portion of it, but when we were running 700 to 800 hours of overtime a year, and, leaving ball games and your kids programs, there's just a lot of responsibility comes with that, which was fine. That's definitely what I signed up for and knew that going into it, but really enjoyed the day to day. As our systems improved over time, the after hours stuff has definitely become much more manageable, I guess. We were on call at that point in time. We were on call every night of the week in your area, and 1 week in a month for part of the system. So you were on call substantially more than they are now. the way the rotation is. And when you were on call, there's a pretty good chance you were going to get a call. And so our system has really gotten a lot better, and uh, don't get near the call outs that we did. Still get plenty, but not near what it used to be.
Well, and that's a huge point that we talked about a little bit, but talk to us a little bit when we say system hardening, or you're saying that our system is stronger than it used to do. What makes that happen? Like, why is that?
Yeah, you touched on it earlier on the vegetation side. Just that in itself. When I first started, if we got 30 or 40 mile an hour winds, we were running tree outages all the time. I mean, and not only that, we were actually calling out our right-of-way crews, which is all but unheard of now. I mean, we've taken such a really good approach to getting the trees and the vegetation away from the power lines, and it's really trimmed down on our outages. We were not that far removed from having 300 tree outages a year. I think last year we recorded like 40 preventable tree outages. So really got aggressive with that.
Yeah, that's incredible. So then one of the things that, and Kayla, I can pitch this to you, but one of the things that Kayla was mentioning before we hit record is the difference in technology. So when you started, so back in, July 16th of 1985, how did you know where to go? How did you get there? Tell us a little bit about that.
So a little bit different world then. Matter of fact, when people was plumb back to how people would call in outages, we had little yellow sticky notes, and you would write their information on a note and try to pile all of the like outages that were in a specific area into that pile. So all the outages were basically on paper, and same way with our map books, all that type of stuff. So it's funny,
and now I want to put a pin in that for just a second, because versus now, when you walk into the control room, it is a real-time interactive map where it shows where the outages are, but also which crews are there, and in real time how they are getting there. Like, that's why it seems crazy that you would have just had a stack of sticky notes.
Yes. No, it's funny because to me the poles and the wire are exactly the same. Transformers are the same. All of that's the same. Technology side of it is what's changed it drastically. Yeah, not only in the control room, but like I said, now that we have iPads in all of our trucks, all of that same information that the control room sees, now we see live in the truck as they come in. And so, and then used to, you had to know your landmarks. Well, now you can hit the little find icon and it'll show you how to drive to your next outage, and instead of us remembering all the different landmarks that we had and knowing to go to this corner or that corner. And no, technology has not only changed how we approach that side of it, but what we can actually do with our, being able to close in devices from the office. And, used to we'd fix a problem and then you might be 7 or 8 miles from the source that is open, your recloser, and then you'd have to spend that time driving over there to actually turn stuff on. And now we have the ability through our SCADA system to do that from the office. So the crew gets the repair made, calls in over the radio, requests you to close it in, and it just speeds up that process of getting power restored when we have those type of outages. And then you take that a step further. That was spotty, and communication when we were doing it over basically a cell service, it was pretty spotty. It worked sometimes, wouldn't work sometimes. Then start our OEC fiber, and now we have fiber to all those devices, and it just eliminated. I mean, it works. It eliminated all that spottiness. So now, when you do make that request, you're very confident that you'll be able to do that.
Another thing, and I'd love to hear if you have a story about, like, there's kind of like these horror stories about when there was a big outage or a tornado or an ice storm, how long our members would be without power, and two, the amount of hours that you guys would work. So, like, tell me, what is one of the craziest storms that you've worked?
Of course, probably the biggest storm for us would have been the '87 ice storm. So it was not very long after I started, had a very large ice storm, system wide. And it's like unlike the had a little bitty one this morning, kind of out on our west side of our system, but covered the whole system. Uh, you know, drug on into close to, we had people off 7 to 10 days, and just the sheer amount of hours we would work. Um, it's one of a very positive change that has happened over the years. We would be, 30, 36 hours in and go home, and it wouldn't be uncommon it's like, we'll see you in about 4 or 5 hours, and then your phone would ring 4 hours in and you'd bounce back and go back and get started restoring power. And so, transition to nowadays where, obviously it's not uncommon for us to work through the night, but we'll hit them 16-hour days, much better um, working environment when we hit them big stretches, call in more mutual aid help and that type of stuff to help us get things restored. And, especially through mutual aid, get people in here where we are able to get stuff restored much quicker.
Well, and the focus on one of the things that I have learned from you is that your number one focus all day, every day is the safety of our crews and our teams, right? Like I couldn't count how many times you've said, all we need is just everybody needs to go home. Everybody needs to be safe. And so thinking, how could you possibly, after a 36 or 40-hour stretch, where you're cold or wet and tired and physically and mentally exhausted, that's not safe, right? So talk a little bit. I mean, maybe I just answered my own question, but how have you seen the emphasis on safety change?
Uh, you know, Obviously, like we talked earlier, the poles and the wire are the same, but our equipment, our safety gear, all of that is continue to just improve. And like I said, even down to the amount of time that we're willing to go out and try to keep people functioning. We were very fortunate that we did that year after year, and with no incidents. So at the end of the day, while you're completely physically and mentally tired, you know, getting everybody home safe was always a priority, no matter how many hours we worked. And so, but definitely in a much better position now. Us being we're kind of exempt for the most part in these major events. We're exempt from a lot of these, I guess, normal rules you would see other businesses have. But being essential service, even though we're exempt from that, we have greatly improved, the amount of time we're willing to have our people out and, you know, uh, work around the clock, end up with night crews and day crews during those big events, which we're fortunately we don't have too many of, but do it as safe as possible, get everybody home, and um, you know you can't understate the importance of that.
One of the things Marty and I had the opportunity to, or opportunity for me, probably a burden for Marty, that I hopped in the truck and rode around with you probably a couple months ago, just kind of learning the lay of the land and some of the different technology. One of the things that I've always really admired about you is your focus is so much on the member, and that there's not a decision that you make where you're not thinking through, how is this action going to impact either positively or negatively our member, and how do we make sure that it's a positive impact? What are some of, and this probably ties into you saying your district lineman was your favorite day job. What are some of the encounters you've had with members that have really stood out?
You know, it's very very much appreciate the membership and what you know there's never a negative interaction when you're restoring somebody's power or fixing a problem. So and as a district lineman, you get to know, you're from that community, you live in that community, and so you get to really kind of know your membership for the most part. Not everybody individually, but get to know a lot of your people in there, and just you know the pride in what we take and what we do. And and in that effort of taking care of our membership, um, you know, can't say enough about that. It's just like, I don't know what, after 38, 39, fixing to be 30, get close to 39 years, um, the level of service that we provide and have always, it's like we always have been trying to do, make tomorrow better than today was, I guess, for no better way of putting it. And whether that was, in any department at the co-op, but on our side is whether that was trimming trees, changing bells, eliminating problems before they become a problem, I guess. And just our proactive approach to improving our system for our members, um, has really, really changed the co-op since over my career anyway.
I love that. So you perfectly led into telling us that you've almost been here for 39 years. What advice would you give to either yourself 38 years ago or to someone who's just getting started as a lineman right now?
Oh, man.
No pressure.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. It's just that dedication to service. I mean, just having a servant heart, for no better way of putting, I guess, of putting that is being a co-op. We're just different, and I've always loved our business model, being member owned, and so just approaching every day with a servant's heart, and how do we, our mission statement says improve our members' quality of life, and if you approach every day with that kind of a mindset, I don't know, you'll appreciate and enjoy your day, and so because after trying to decide when to retire has been one of the most difficult decisions I ever made, and because after this long, I still enjoy being here, still enjoy what we stand for, and enjoy taking care of the membership.
I love that. And it's such a perfectly quoted Marty statement, that focus on the membership. Kayla, I have left no room for you to ask any questions. What didn't I ask you, Marty or Kayla, that I should have?
Yeah, I've got one for you, Marty. So you mentioned the big ice storm of '87 being the kind of event that sticks out to you. And it sounds like a heck of an ice storm. I mean, to cover our full system would have been just a monstrous storm. One of the things I love talking about with folks who have been here since pre-2000 is Y2K. I know it's kind of a random thing. It wasn't a storm, but it was still an all hands on deck kind of moment. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that evening looked like here at the co-op?
So I was a district lineman during that, and that was a strange evening. We were scattered out at different substations expecting something, I guess, and then nothing happened, which is good. But in co-op fashion, we were prepared, and but we just didn't know what the heck we were prepared for.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Midnight came.
I remember
and went,
talking with
okay.
a lot of nothing, but it's better to be prepared than unprepared. I was talking with Lori Holz. She's our control room operator, and she was talking about how everyone was there in the control room and everyone was ready to jump in. We had district linemen at all the substations, and it was just a big old nothing. So again, I think that just speaks to the co-op way and how we're there and we're prepared and we're going to be as proactive as possible, like you've mentioned.
No, and then and obviously we were. There was a lot of gloom and doom talk going on, and so ideally the perfect thing happened, which was nothing. But in back to Autumn's initial or question just a little bit ago too, that's what would I tell myself 38 years ago is also you're going to get the opportunity to work with a lot of great people in that effort of taking care of our membership, and didn't want that to go unsaid, because over that time, that's another reason it's been really hard to decide when to retire, is just the type of people that we've been able to hire through the co-op and your teammates that you get to work with every day. hard to beat that group.
I can't think of a better way to end this call. Marty, thank you for educating us and more importantly for what you do, for that servant leadership that you offer all of us, that servant's heart and the dedication to our membership. It's you said it perfectly, that it's what makes OEC different, and you're a huge part of that. So thank you for all you do.
Yep, thank you all.
You can find us at okcoop.org and oecfiber.com.
Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.